going. Right, okay, so last one of the night. I need to crack on because I've waffled on a bit about the Santis malt that I've just had, which was really very good, but quite smoky. So I've just had to drink quite a lot of water to try and get that smoky taste out of my mouth, and I'm hoping it's not going to affect what I'm going to do now too much, which is not a swishky, because I haven't got any more whisky left. I just had the two. But this particular one was a very kind donation from Andrew A.P. Butler. Thank you very much, sir. And you might recognise what the flag is. Pretty certain that's the Austrian flag, because it's from Austria. And it's called Reisetbauer. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. Because again, it's my pronunciation, so it's probably completely wrong. Which is named after a gentleman called Hans Reisetbauer, who looks like this, who is a bit of an entrepreneur. He's basically started off as a fruit farmer who, after a few years in sort of the early 90s, got together with a sort of a drinks producer and set up a distillery in 1994. In a place called Augsburg, which is here, which is, if you drew a line directly west of Vienna, my geography is shocking, you would come across Augsburg. If you were a crow flying directly west, you would end up going over the distillery. And it's another one like the others where it wasn't a brewery as such. They were doing fruit liqueurs and fruit spirits, and we didn't have the case of with Switzerland where you couldn't distill anything. It was just, he started off doing liqueurs and brandies and then got into whiskey. So the whiskey itself launched in 2002, but it was in 1996 when he planted a batch of summer barley, it almost as an experiment, with a view of then creating whiskey. So grew it, milled it, distilled it, launched it in 2002, and we're now at the stage where there's a 7, a 12 and a 15-year-old. Now, I couldn't find the list that Andrew had sent me, and on here it's just got Reisetbauer and nothing else. So I'm working on the assumption that it's the 7-year-old, but it might be the 12, it might be the 15. So Andrew, if you can let me know in the comments which age this is, it would be very good. I'm going to put a picture of the bottle, I'm going to picture of the 7-year-old bottle up now. In terms of a price, I can't find anywhere in the UK selling it. The only price I could find was 85 Australian dollars from a place in Australia that was selling it. So in terms of how much this is to buy, no idea whatsoever. Now, the interesting bit about this is what it's matured in. As I've mentioned before in the past couple of reviews, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, a lot of very small distilleries, a lot of them that used to start off as either breweries or producing fruit liqueurs and brandies and things like that. They don't really use sherry casks, they don't use bourbon casks. It's very hard to get hold of sherry casks, even though they're not that far away from Spain. It's very hard to get them, they're expensive. Bourbon casks don't really go that far across. So they tend to use wine casks or beer casks, and in this case with Reisetbauer, they're using a combination of Chardonnay casks, which we did with the Langerton Chardonnay casks, okay, and a dessert wine which you may have heard of called Trockenbeeren Auslese, which is quite a sweet dessert wine, very, very highly regarded. It tends to be quite expensive, and surprised the hell out of me when I saw that this was being used, those casks being used to mature this whiskey. I'm fascinated to know what this is like, because we had, when we had the Michel Couvreur, that was Moscatel casks. I wasn't really convinced that it worked, but something like Trockenbeeren Auslese, that's a pretty bold cask to be used. So I'm very, very intrigued to see what this is going to be like. So if this is the 7-year-old, it's 43%. If it was the 12-year-old, it's 46%. The 15-year-old, I can't remember what it is. There may be some older ones. It was basically as far as I could get down the webpage. But yes, again, another one of these where, without doing this challenge and without the generosity of people like Andrew A.P. Butler, didn't even know this existed, let alone have a chance to try it. So colour-wise, not quite as dark as the Santis that we've just had, but it's still a pretty healthy colour. It really is. And I'm working on the assumption that of the 3 that I've had tonight, no colouring's been added. So they're picking up some really good colouring for something, if it's the 7, relatively young. Oh, Christ. Wasn't expecting that. Wow, that's a weird nose. Oh God, what does that smell of? It smells of marzipan. It does, yeah. It smells of marzipan and something else, but it's like a combination of marzipan. It's quite nutty as well, but it's marzipan, but also sort of polystyrene. What a weird nose. What a weird nose. There's marzipan and sweetness, but there's also a slight sharpness to it, which isn't chemically, but it's really kind of like clearing your nose out. Not quite menthol, maybe eucalyptus, that sort of thing. It's not quite minty enough. But it reminds me of something like, that's why polystyrene comes to mind, where it's something, chemically is the wrong word, because it gives you the wrong impression, like it smells like toilet duck or something like that. It doesn't. It smells like something man-made that is sort of not quite natural. It's kind of like packaging, like packing peanuts or something, where you get a smell of it, and it's not that it's unpleasant, it just not what you would expect from a whiskey. I don't know whether I like it or not, because I do like marzipan, but half of this nose works really well. I really like it, and then the other half is like, what the hell is going on? It really does remind me of something, and it's something to do with packaging, or almost like the smell you get when you open a new box of something. It's like when you've opened something, like toy collectors. I've got a friend of mine who's quite a big toy geek, toy collector, and he talks about when you open up a figure, a Star Wars figure, say, something like that, and you open it up and you take a sniff as you open it up, and you get this smell of like new toy. It's not too dissimilar to that on the nose. And that is a nice smell. That's the thing. It's not an unpleasant nose. It's just my head's going, mate, this is whiskey. Whiskey should not smell like this. And my nose is going, yeah, but it's not too bad. God knows what it tastes like. That's got to be the Trockenbeer and Auslese casks. It really has. Blimey. There's sweetness, there's nuttiness, there's kind of hazelnuts and Brazil nuts. There is a bit of a kind of like chocolate and fruit and nut. There is a bit of a like Cadbury's Dairy Milk fruit and nut bar going on, because there is some kind of raisininess, raisins and sultanas, and some milk chocolate and some hazelnuts. There's other stuff going on. There's sort of bananas in there as well, like banoffee pie. So there's bananas and cookie dough and pastry and cream. But again, there's kind of this sharpness, and there's an element of it that's not artificial in a bad way, just something that's not a natural element. It's like a man-made element's been added to it, but it doesn't work with the rest of the flavours, or it doesn't fit in with the rest of the flavours. It's kind of, you can sense it. But again, not necessarily a bad thing. It's quite drying as well. There's something about this nuttiness. I can't put my finger on it. I really can't. There's something slightly unusual about this. And again, I don't know if it's working for me or whether it's turning me away. I'm feeling a bit more positive about this one. There's been a few recently where I really didn't know which way I went. Which was the one? I only had it recently where I wasn't, it was one of the French ones where I just could not tell whether I liked it or not. It might have been the Michel Couvreur. I don't know. There was one recently where you could sort of tell I wasn't sure whether I liked it or not, and the more I talked myself around, the more I realised, no, I'm not much of a fan. Whereas this, I'm kind of going the other way. I kind of like this more than I dislike it, but there is elements of this that just don't fit. This is one of the weirder whiskies that I've had. And I could imagine that quite a few people are just going to go, ooh, no, don't want any more of that, because of this weird nuttiness and this weird artificiality that doesn't settle, it doesn't sit right, it doesn't balance with the rest of the flavours that are there. And it's not a peatiness. What the hell is that? It really is sort of plasticky. It's not like it's had loads of colouring added in. It's not even like it's a graininess, like a metallic edge. It's not. Is it sour? No. There's just some kind of weird sharpness that's just doesn't work. But the rest of it is actually pretty decent, and I can almost overcome that weird element that's in there to go, do you know what, the rest of it's alright. That's so weird. No, do you know what? I thought I liked this. I thought it was going to go. But the thought of drinking a larger shot of this, or having a bottle of it and getting through it, I would really struggle. This is hard work. This is a hard work whiskey. It's interesting because of it, and it would be fascinating to put this on a tasting. But I can imagine if you put this on a tasting, not many people are going to be a fan of this. Likewise, the Santis. But the Santis worked for me personally on a personal level and kind of got me, where's my heart? There, wherever it is, if I have one. But this is hard work, and for differing reasons, I think the majority of people would not be a fan of this. There'd be some people that really like it because it's really unusual and they can kind of work with the weird elements that are in this. But this is too weird for some people. This is too weird for me. This would be hard work. It would be really hard work to buy, pour a long shot of this, a couple of fingers of it overnight, thinking, I'm going to have a large one, and then go, I'm really going to struggle with this. I'm going to have something else. But Andrew, thank you very much for that. I'd love to know what you think of it. And if you can pick up, if you can tell me what you think that kind of the weird elements are in there. There is something in there that I just cannot put my finger on, and I'm trying to think what it reminds me of, and I'm failing miserably. So that's me done. And that's me done for the next few nights. I'm going to enjoy my Christmas weekend with my wife and kids. I will be filming again on probably the bank holiday Monday, so I think that's Boxing Day, the Tuesday. So yes, I'm going to take a few days off just to enjoy Christmas. So by the time you watch this, Christmas will have been done. I hope you had a good one, and I shall see you at the next video. Cheers.